Hi guys, welcome back to the Tech Diary. This is my second channel. I won't say what I normally say because I'm getting bored of saying that, and who cares. It's the second channel. I have another channel where things are a bit more edited and smooth and not quite so rambly, but this is a little space for me just to hang with you guys. I've never said that before. I'm nearly 40. I'm 45 on Monday. I never say hang, but anyway, I'm here. I'm here just to have a little pub chat with you, and there's no editing. I do waffle on a bit. It's not for everyone, but lots of you seem to like it, so thanks for stopping by. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do if you've been watching this for a while. If you've just found this channel and you're possibly a bit confused, give it a go, and by the end of this video, maybe you might think about hitting that button as well. Right, today I want to talk about my main phone, my new main phone, which is the iPhone Air. This is, well, firstly, if you weren't aware, I've switched to this full time. So I went from the iPhone 16e, no really, which I used for months. When did it come out? Was it March it came out? Whenever it came out early this year, I got it straight away, I reviewed it, and then I used it as my main phone. People did not believe that I did that. I went from the iPhone 16 Pro Max to the base level, the base model, the cheapest iPhone you could buy, which was massively unremarkable. It just did everything okay. It was just an iPhone. It had a rubbish camera in terms of the having two focal lengths that were usable, and no MagSafe. It wasn't. It had the notch. There was no Monkey Island on it. It was just an iPhone. Very uninspiring, very uninteresting. But I used it for months as my main phone. Now that's gone away, and I have this in its place, which I'm going to go on record now for this. Let me just say it. I think this is the most interesting smartphone I've reviewed ever. I've reviewed lots of smartphones, and the problem with this is that I don't know why. I've got no idea why this is so interesting, but it is. And bearing in mind, I also have, because I'm a tech reviewer and we do very weird things, we don't live normal tech lives because we have multiple phones and everything basically. So we do strange stuff, like I have a second iPhone along with another phone, which is an Android phone that I'm reviewing. But I have two iPhones that I'm rocking these days. So to give you an idea of what I'm doing with them, which again is not normal usage, and please do not do this yourself because it's expensive and stupid. The iPhone Air has my main SIM card in this, and it's an eSIM because there's no such thing as a iPhone Air with a physical SIM card. It's the number that I've had for many, many years that sits in here. So it's if you ring, well, not you, but if someone rings me who has my number, this is the phone that rings. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is, I've called it a production phone for me, which is a weird thing to have. I mean, who has a production phone? But the point being, because it's all about the camera system really, and the battery life to be fair, and the orange, the cosmic orange, it's become this device which I now use if I'm not using my big camera. So if I go, for instance, tomorrow I'm going to a press briefing for something, which I can't mention because it's under embargo, etc. But normally I would take possibly a camera like this, maybe my DJI Osmo Pocket thing, or a phone. And the phone is the easiest thing to take because it's with me anyway. The problem with this, well, I'll come on to the problem with that in a moment. This basically is fulfilling that role now. So I will take this with me tomorrow and get photos of what I need to get photos of, get some footage of the thing that I'm going to see, and it will save me a lot of time, a lot of hassle, and weight as well. This isn't very heavy. This compared to that camera, there's a big weight difference. So that is kind of what this will be doing. Well, it's not kind of. That is exactly what this thing will be doing for the next 12 months. I do occasionally use it as a phone, not as in ringing people because there's no number on this, but I do use it to kind of message people on WhatsApp and, use Slack and stuff, but it's not my main phone. My main phone is this. Now, a quick caveat to this entire video is the fact that next week I have my 2-week later review of the iPhone Air hitting the main channel, and I have a feeling that's going to be quite a popular video because I think quite a few people are waiting to buy this. I think it was announced 3 weeks ago-ish. It was delivered to people a couple of weeks ago-ish. And I think everyone else who's thinking about this phone is really thinking about it, because they're thinking, do I go for the iPhone Air, the shiny, sexy new thing, or do I go for what I'd normally go for, which might be the Pro Max or the Pro or the regular iPhone 17? But this is it's an unexpected roadblock to making that purchasing decision. I think that's what's happening with a lot of people. So I think people are waiting. And because of that, I'm hoping that next week's video is going to do very well and hopefully help those people as well. One of those people may be you. Who knows? If that is you, then let me know down below if you're struggling to make that decision. So this isn't going to be a full review today of this. I just want to tell you a couple of things about it in terms of what it's like to live with it. Starting with the battery life. I will go into this in more detail next week, but it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde phone when it comes to battery life. The first weekend I spent with it, I came away from that weekend thinking, wow, I don't know what people are worried about. The battery is fantastic. I think the first full day of using it, which was the Saturday. So the Friday morning I got it, set it all up that day. The Saturday was the first full day of using it properly. It got through to about, I think, 9:30 at night. It came off the charger at about 7 a.m, I think. And by 9:30 that evening, it hit the 20% red warning thing. And it had been nowhere near a charger. Arguably, it was still possibly doing some of its setup and stuff in the background and indexing and stuff like that. And I was using it fairly consistently all day because it was a new thing, a new phone, I'm testing it, all the rest of it. I was chuffed with that. And then the Sunday, I used it less. And as a result of that, I still used it, but I definitely used it less compared to the previous day. It got through to about 10:30. 11:15, I think, with, again, 20% remaining. So I left that weekend just thinking, well, this is going to be fine. Then I travelled with it. I went to Germany, I think, that week, and for a couple of days, and the battery experience completely changed. If you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, by the way, it's Mark Ellis Reviews, go and check it out. But if you do, and if you watch my stories, you may have seen a screenshot from that week with the battery. I didn't say it was the iPhone Air, but it was from the iPhone Air, from this phone, of the battery at about 4 p.m. And it was low, very low. So that changed my opinion then for a few days of it. And then I came back, and actually the battery, once again, was okay. Now this all links to things that you're probably thinking yourself, like, for instance, switching between networks, roaming, relying more on Wi-Fi at home compared to cellular, all that stuff. And all these things have an impact on battery life. And in some cases, they have quite a significant detrimental impact on on battery life. So I'm very aware of that. But that's normal usage. People will be at home with their phones on certain days quite a bit, and people will be traveling, getting on planes and going to places where they're switching networks, and people will just be leaving, walking around their local town or city, and their phones looking for different masts and stuff. And there's a lot of different factors. This is partly why I don't do any kind of battery testing, because it's so complicated. Ben at Lover of Tech, my good friend, he is the best. He's definitely the best person to go and watch when it comes to that stuff, because he understands all those intricacies of battery testing. But it's battery wise, Jekyll and Hyde is the best way to describe that, and I will explain more next week in terms of my actual experiences with it. The other thing is the battery. Just done that. The other thing is the camera system. Now, the best way to explain the camera system on the iPhone Air is limited. The other way to explain it, which is a bit unfair, I'm not just saying this to get clicks and get you kind of talking and to annoy Apple. I'm not here to do that. It's just the way I feel about it, is that it feels just like the iPhone 16e camera. And the reason for that is because it has two focal lengths, two standard focal lengths. You go into the camera app. In fact, let me show you. If I go into the camera app now, you get, it's gone because I've just pressed camera control. There we go. If you can see that, we get 1x and 2x, 1 times, 2 times, however you however you say those numbers. 1 and 2, that's it. There's no ultra wide, which we get on the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge, which I'm also testing at the moment. That has an ultra wide plus 1 and 2, I think, again. Every time, not every time, but regularly when I go into the camera on the iPhone Air, I'm surprised by the lack of that ultra wide lens. It's quite annoying, actually. I went to an event this week in London, and I wanted to get some Instagram worthy photos of the room that I was in. It was relatively big, but it was compact enough to need a wide angle just to get everything in. And I couldn't do it with this phone. I had to keep turning to this because I had this on me, thankfully. So I got the ultra. I obviously had the ultra wide on the 17 Pro Max, but that isn't normal use case. People don't have both these phones. You may just have this, and in those situations, the lack of an ultra wide even is really irritating. And when you think I've spent £1,000 on this, $1,000, it should have that. And you may be different, but for me, I missed that more than anything. I missed it so much on the 16E to the point where I regularly thought about just going back to the Pro Max. But I stuck to my guns. I didn't bother, mainly because I couldn't be bothered because it was too much hassle swapping my main phone over again. But it's definitely annoying. Now, once again, I will be showing plenty of photos from this phone in next week's full 2 week later review. But it's limited, and it's annoyingly limited. The third thing, I think, about this phone is that I don't, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I don't know what it is about it that makes it so interesting. I genuinely don't. I need to spend a bit more time thinking this through, but I think what it is it's one of those rare, these days, Apple products that has, I hate this phrase, but it has that X factor. It has something about it which might be a combination of how thin it is, which is the big thing for it, obviously. The design, possibly, with the plateau. And the fact they've gone for shiny sides rather than the matte finish that we get on the Unibody Pro and Pro Max. And on the regular iPhone 17. Could be that, possibly. It could be what it feels like. It feels very different to any iPhone you've ever held. Trust me. If you haven't tried one yet, by the way, go and check it out. It's a very, very interesting thing to hold in your hands. It could be that. It could be that, and it could also be the combination of the hardware. I said this in my review of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. It could be the combination of the hardware and liquid glass, iOS 26. I think the aesthetics of the iPhone Air match liquid glass, that user interface, which is controversial, I know, but it matches those two. They go hand in hand, basically. They match so beautifully. I think it just creates this thing, this object, which you can't help but marvel at. The problem with that is that as soon as you get this, you'll get, this is what will happen if you buy one. You'll get it out of the box and immediately you'll go, like I did. I didn't put that on during my unboxing. It's a genuine, whoa, wow moment. And whenever you give it to someone, they'll do the same thing. They'll go, this is an iPhone. It's like, that rarely happens with Apple. In fact, any product these days. However, you'll do that for a bit and then you'll think, I daren't take this out of the house. So what you then do, obviously, is you put a screen protector on the front and you get a big case like this. You slap that on. And okay, it's still thin. Is it still thinner than it's about the same thickness as a little bit more than the Pro Max, but that's the point. It becomes not thin anymore, not as thin as it is without the case on. No matter how thin your case is, it's still going to be thicker and chunkier. Which kind of removes the main point of this phone, which is that thickness or lack of thickness. The whole point of the iPhone 17 is that it's very svelte and barely there, and that you kind of get rid of all of that if you put a case on. You just do. It's the same with any phone, really, but it's particularly the case with this one. So it's such, but it's fascinating. I don't know why. I mean, again, maybe it's because I get to see lots of different phones and get to hold lots of different phones, and I have that perspective of to be honest, coming from a point where you get a bit bored of lots of these phones because they're all very similar, they do the same stuff, and there's only very marginal things that separate them. This feels like a very different device overall in terms of all the smartphones I've tested over the last 6 years. Is it a honeymoon thing? I don't know. Possibly that might wear off. But now I've got it out of the case again, because it's been in this case for most of its time that I've had it, for most of the time that I've owned it, and yeah, that's another thing. I'm not sent this by Apple. I think this year, more than any other year, I've got so many comments from people saying, "Oh, this guy must be paid by Apple," or people that are kind of insinuating that's the case, saying things like, "Why is my feed full of these tech creators, waxing lyrical about the iPhone Air?" I can only speak for myself here, obviously, but I do know how this industry works. And trust me, Apple is not paying me, and I'm pretty sure they're not paying anyone to talk about the iPhone Air in that way. That isn't the way this industry works. Like I say, I can only talk from my point of view, but I have never had any contact from Apple about the iPhone. In 6 years of doing this, I have to buy them. We buy these in as the business. They become business assets, and we justify that by getting sponsors in and you guys watching, and we earn AdSense from the video, so it kind of all pays for itself. But I have to buy this. I went to pick it up as every other normal person does from the Apple Store if they choose that option. I've gone off topic now. I've lost my train of thought, but I need to say that. It's important to say that. One other thing to mention is the speaker. Now, I won't go into detail about the quality of the speaker and all that sort of stuff, but what I will, because I'll be doing that next week, what I will say is that the location of it is very confusing. If you didn't know, this only has one speaker. It's not, so it doesn't have stereo speakers. That doesn't bother me. I'm not one of these people who watches stuff on his phone and doesn't use earbuds or headphones. If I'm not using earbuds or headphones, I tend to be watching vertical content like that, which it doesn't matter that it's not in stereo, who cares? However, if you didn't know, the speaker on here isn't there. It's not there. It's there, basically. So if you're listening to a voice note, or you want to hear something on your phone and you want to do it fairly surreptitiously, you have to do that, which is like listening to a phone call. And this keeps throwing me. So if I'm walking down the street, for instance, and I can't get my AirPods out for whatever reason, and someone leaves me a voice note on Slack, for instance, I immediately press play and just do that out of habit. And it still takes me a while to work out that why I can't hear anything, turning it up, and then you realise that it's blasting out there and everyone else can hear your voice note. So you have to do that. It's a bit odd. It's a bit strange. Anyway, those are my thoughts. He says, good time to finish because my voice is going. Those are my initial thoughts after nearly 2 weeks of using the iPhone Air. I would love to know now, guys, as always, have you bought one of these? Have you kept it? Have you sent it back? Did you instead go for something else like the Pro Max after much deliberation? Or are you still confused? Are you still not sure? Are you still deciding between this and another iPhone, or perhaps another phone entirely? Get involved in the comments, please. I'd love to know. And if you found this channel, if this is the first video that you've watched on the Tech Diary, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got this far, I'm possibly doing something right. Please have a think about clicking that subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed the video, give it a like as well. Makes a big difference. Get involved in the comments. I will be down there as well, as always. Let's have a nice, friendly chat about this stuff. And yeah, keep an eye out next week. Can't get my words out. Keep an eye out next week on the main channel for my full 2-week review of the iPhone Air. You will not want to miss that, trust me. Guys, thank you. Catch you next week. Cheers.